Welcome back to another TradeAlt's technical analysis, and you can see on your screen what we will be covering in this video. I am going to do the altcoins first. I'm going to save Bitcoin for the very end, but let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the charts. All right, so we have Aave BTC right here on the daily time frame. And you can see price currently, we're sitting right here on the daily key June, completely mean reverted. So price is in equilibrium right now. And I mean, it's been an incredible run. I mean, just what are we on here? So right here, you can see January 9th, just from January 9th to the top over here, 435% gain versus Bitcoin. I mean, that's incredible. Like Aave's been on a really, really good run, obviously, but you can see again when the Kijun flattens out like this, your yellow line here, it kind of indicates that there's a loss of bullish momentum, and you can see price declined. And once you lost this Tenkin here, especially with the deviation here, so this is kind of a C clamp. You can see how far away the Tenkin is away from the Kijun, where previously when you had this beautiful move up, you can see how close together your Kijun and your Tenkin were. And this is kind of what you want to see. Like, this is a very, very powerful, very strong trend. And then you get your loss of momentum and price is mean reverted. So that's basically where we're at right now. And, you know, to be honest, this is usually a really good buy off of this zone or off of this level. But I really would like to have seen a stronger reaction off of this, to be honest. And so you can see here in this green box. So you know how I like my green boxes if you've been following me for a little bit now. But this is basically a daily level. This is a daily level right here. So this is kind of an initial support zone below your Kijun. And then you have your Fibonacci retracement, taking it from the very low of this move all the way up to your high right here. And you can see that this yellow box within the green box is your golden pocket. So that's your 618. Fibonacci retracement to your 6.6, and also it's kind of hidden a little bit, but right here you have your monthly pivot. So just let me make sure that, yep, that is your monthly pivot. So that's all kind of right here in this area. So this is and there's also a weekly. So there's a weekly level that's running through about where your 6.6 level is right here. So it's kind of hard to see, but you can see it over here on the right side of your chart here. So that's a weekly level. So this zone, I do think there's a pretty good chance, especially considering looking at the rest of the altcoin market and how it's doing right now. I think it's pretty likely that you come down and visit somewhere within this box. And I think, like, you know, as far as risk reward goes, this isn't financial advice, obviously, but I would be interested in a potential trade here. If we do come down to visit these regions, obviously I'd want to watch the reaction as we do come down and kind of look at the overall market in real time to see like what's going on. Like, does it make sense to take a position here? You know, is Bitcoin absolutely ripping and it looks like it's not going to stop? That could obviously impact alts, you know, altcoins versus Bitcoin pairing. So that's something to take into consideration. But kind of where we're currently sitting, this is an area that I am very, very interested in if price does indeed come down to that level. So that's Aave versus Bitcoin. And then obviously, like, you know, if you do get a bounce here, then you would kind of be watching to see what your Tenkin's doing, and kind of go from there. Your R1 monthly pivot is up here, kind of near your weekly. Like, we're really far away from that, so I'm not really worried too much about that until I see price. If it does start to turn around, then I would, you know, have to kind of reassess to see if we're going to hit this box or not. But kind of as it stands, I think it's pretty likely that that's going to happen. So you can see that we are going to be running into cloud here the beginning of March. So we have another couple of weeks. So it's totally fine to kind of hang around in this area. Not a big deal, but I do, you know, if we do kind of run into March here, and that's the thing I love about Ichimoku, is it gives you forward-looking analysis. So time's a really key component in how Ichimoku works. But again, cloud here about March 5th, March 6th, we're going to start running into it. So you kind of want to see where price is once we do approach this area. But for now, again, this is kind of the bounce zone that I'm looking for, that I would be very interested in. So that's a Bitcoin pairing. So if we take a look, this is the USDT pairing. And you can see it's kind of the similar setup, right? So you have your loss of bullish momentum, your Kijun's flattening out here. You're in the process of losing your Tenkin. Obviously, I think if we take out this low here, I wouldn't be surprised at all, which, by the way, this low wick is your 382 Fibonacci retracement. So that was a really, really nice bounce off of there. It's actually a, you know, was that almost a 20% bounce? I mean, more than that. That's just the wick. So, I mean, you're looking 20+% bounce just off of this level. So I really like to see that, obviously. But if this wick low right here is lost, I do think that we will come down and test your daily Kijun here as well, which is currently sitting around $322. Also kind of, so this green box, this is kind of the zone that I'm looking at. You have your consolidation over here. It's not really much of a consolidation. It's just kind of your last, you know, formation before you got your big impulse out of this area. So this naturally, you know, it should provide some sort of support, you know, if price does come down and revisit these levels. And you can see here that your cloud is forming. I mean, this is so new. So this pairing, the USDT pairing for Aave, is so new on Binance that it doesn't even have like a fully formed cloud yet. So this is kind of a little bit harder to use, but you get the gist of it. But you do see a flat, kind of a flat Kumo right here that is running into this green cloud. So that's an area that I'm interested in as well. And then if we do dip a little bit lower than that, which, I mean, I'm not sure. I think that's very likely, but I just want to draw out your golden pocket for you. This is all the way down at $261 where your 618 is. And then you do kind of have your monthly pivot that's sitting right around where your 6.6 is. So these are kind of the levels that I would be looking for. If we do take this wick low out here that was made a couple days ago, I think that is pretty good chance that we could see, you know, even if it's just another quick wick down or whatnot, but this could be a nice, again, not financial advice, but this could be a nice area to kind of take a look at, possibly taking a long. And then down here, obviously, I mean, this would be quite the retracement. I'm not so sure that we get down that deep, but it's a level that I would be paying attention to if we do indeed start coming down that low. So that's Aave. Again, to the upside, it's kind of the same thing. You want to see, like, I really would like to see price reclaim this Tenkin and like stay above it. And then you have your R2 monthly pivot here. Getting above that would be good. And, you know, that would look pretty good to me, that for continuation up to the upside. So moving on, we're going to go to Zen USDT. This is a beautiful chart, by the way. Like this, Zen has been on an absolute tear. And again, if you look back just the beginning of the year, so if we went through January 1st right here up to this wick high, that's 450%. 456% move on Zen. It has been, you know, if you're in it, nice work, but it's been one that I've actually been in for quite a while. I actually have nodes that I run, so I'm obviously happy with this price action. But you can see here that, you know, we kind of got into this really nice ascending channel, and it would, you know, as far as trading this, this channel traded out very nicely if you had caught it. But you can see that we actually broke out of this channel right here, and we came back down, and actually we came back down right to the center of this old channel. So once we kind of broke it, we came right back down to the middle of this channel and perfectly tagged your 618 Fibonacci retracement and your daily Kijun. I'm sorry, your daily Tenkin, this blue line here. So this is really, really good confluence as far as I'm concerned. You have your daily Tenkin, which has been a phenomenal buy anytime it's been touched during this run up. So you have that. You have your 618, which is a very key level when it comes to Fibonacci. So that's really important. And then you also had the center of your, or I'm sorry, you had the middle of your ascending channel here. So three nice forms of confluence there for a trade. I mean, if you had bids there, that would have worked out pretty nice. And again, anytime that we've come close to this Tenkin here, you can see right here, that was a really nice buy. This was a really nice buy. This was a nice buy. Like any, you know, anytime that you're able to revisit these lower levels here when you're trending, especially using Ichimoku here, these are usually really good levels to pay attention to. And if you find that a certain asset likes to bounce off of a particular one, whether it's your Tenkan or your Kijun, that's something that's really good to pay attention to. And again, till it stops working, you know, that's kind of something that I would continue to look for as, you know, this as Zen progresses. So the Bitcoin pairing, this is a little bit different. You can see back here, all the way back in November and back at the beginning of the year in January. So against Bitcoin, it was kind of hanging out around here at your macro value area low, which is that's typically a good, you know, if you're looking for long-term positions, taking trades off of the macro value area low, you know, to the long side, like if you're going to buy, is typically like, I mean, I wouldn't just buy blindly off of it, but it is a nice long-term swing position area like to pay attention to, because typically that's where you can find a lot of really nice trades. So like in this instance, we were at the macro value area low back here in November. You got a huge spike up. I remember this one really well. And then it actually faded the entire move all the way back down to guess where? Your macro value area low, before you got your big impulse off of it again, and kind of where we're sitting today. So if you know, if you had caught these lows, you did very, very, very well if you did take a position off of it. So now, you know, we kind of got through, there was a lot of, you know, in this instance here, there was kind of a lot of resistance in this middle band here. You can see there's some weeklies and some monthlies. Your macro point of control, which is a really important level, was here. And you guys see we broke up through it, retested it right here, and then we pushed up to your macro value area high, which you got a wick rejection, came back down with another test here, wick rejection. And where did you revisit? Your macro point of control and your monthly. Like, this is a really, really important support level now, if you knew about these levels. And you can see we came back down, retested these before we got another impulsive move up. And currently we're sitting above the macro value area high. So this is pretty good. Zen's in a good position against Bitcoin as well. We are above the weekly level here, which you can see previously, you know, we kind of struggled, like Zen struggled to maintain above these levels. Like you got your wick through, another couple wicks through, and you can see like we're grinding out this area trying to push above. And now you got your push up and you're kind of back tested this area of support. So now it's kind of a really important level to hold. So you really don't want to see this level lost again. Otherwise, you know, if this level is lost, then you look through, you know, you look to where your supports could be. I mean, and you could see it come back all the way down to this weekly level, or even all the way back down to the macro point of control and retest that again. It wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary. But as far as it looks now, Zen looks really good. And this monthly level is it's your next. You can see it's been tested twice in the last 2 days. You've had your wicks through it right here. If you're able to reclaim that, let me go to a weekly just so that it's a little bit easier to see. So if this level is reclaimed, then you look to your next level of, you know, resistance, which for me is this monthly level here, close to your R2 monthly pivot as well. But that's a really nice move from here. So let's say, you know, even if it's just able to reclaim this monthly again, I mean, that's almost a 30% move up to your next kind of resistance level that I would have. And really, you know, I think if you get up here, especially if you're able to reclaim this, like you could look to take this a lot higher. Like I think Zen could absolutely run really hard. But so that's kind of like, as long as you're above this monthly level here, this is kind of the next immediate resistance level that I would want to see reclaimed. But so far Zen looks pretty good to me. So that's the Bitcoin pairing for Zen. Now on to DOT. So this is another just phenomenal, amazing this amazing runner that we've had. So if you go again, if you go back to the end of December and you just take a move up, up to this wick high here, you can see 588% move just since the end of 2020. I mean, this has been an absolute beast to be in. And this is another one, again, Ichimoku. I really like Ichimoku quite a bit because it gives you pretty clear indications of when to buy. So again, I was talking about this, I think it was with Aave. But when you see an asset and it kind of has a pattern like of areas that it likes to bounce off of, again, until it stops working, that's likely trades that you should consider taking and not financial advice. But with DOT, you can see here, so you got a wick through and you got a really big impulsive move. Nice consolidation, runs into your Tenkin here. Another move up, retest your Tenkin right here. So you can see you got two Tenkin retests right here. And then you also got this. That's a retest. And then just off of this last wick, I mean, just to the bottom of the candle is 15%. And really, like, if you had bought that wick, you're still in this trade. So that would have been a really nice buy. But, DOT really hasn't come back down to test its Kijun since, earlier this year. But it looks really strong. It looks, I'd like to see this. I like the angulation here. So you can see how you have a positive slopes on both your Tenkin and your Kijun. And they don't look like, it doesn't look like either of them are going to flatten out. So that's a really good sign. I mean, you see, since the listing, it's just, you have this long, I don't always say long, but it was a fairly long consolidation all the way from, August to the end of the year. And then it just absolutely exploded. So, the sky's the limit for DOT, really. It looks amazing here. You can see you're kind of approaching your R3 monthly pivot, I believe. Yeah, that's your monthly pivot. So, I mean, as pivots aren't exactly like resistances on their own, like I like to use Confluence with that, but that is kind of what we have going for, as far as levels to watch right now. But it looks really good. So if you're in DOT, nice job. I don't really see, you're really far away from your Tenkin and your Kijun, so you kind of want to see momentum continue here. And if you start to get kind of a longer consolidation, then we can kind of revisit and see what's going on. But for now, looks really good. And, for a level to the downside that I would want to pay attention to is this like 26. I'll just draw it out for you. That way you can see it a little bit easier. It's this level. So this is a daily level. And you can see here, we already back tested it. So you got your long wick down to your Tenkin here, and then your move up. But this daily level right here at 2687-ish or something, this is a level that I'd like to see held. If you see this lost, then we could, I would imagine, depending on where the Tenkin and the Kijun are, I'd want to revisit it when that happens. So actually, I'm going to set an alert here. That way, in case we do come back down, I can check it, and who knows, maybe there's a really nice trade that's set up, possibly. One that I can kind of look at right now is I take the bottom wick here. Let's say that this is the top. See if there's any Fibonacci in this area. And your 618 lines up absolutely spot on with your R2 monthly pivot. So kind of like, and this is kind of an insight to how I like to trade. But like, I'm going to put it off over here just so it's a little easier to see. So kind of like, this is how I would start to build my confluences for possibly taking trades. So again, you have your long wick to the downside before you have your move up. So I would take a fib pull from the bottom of this wick to the top of this wick, assuming that that is the high for now, which honestly it's probably not. But if price were to continue moving down, this, your 618 is always an area that, like, at least I'm interested in. Like, I like to know where those pulls are. And if they line up with any other forms of confluence, and here again, you have your R2 monthly pivot right on your 618, and you have your daily SR level here at 2683. So like, this zone is one that I would be very interested in and kind of keeping an eye on if price does make its way down here for possible short-term trade. So that's DOT. Looks great. And here's Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, right, you know, we're above 50K, so that's nice. When I started this video, we weren't, at least when I was looking at the chart previously. So we're above 50K. That's amazing. That's just, I mean, seriously though, like if you've been in this market for any length of time, seriously, congratulations though. Like we've all been, you know, 50K has been a number we've been talking about for a very, very long time, and it's finally here. And it's really cool to see it on a chart, to be honest. So this is Bitcoin on the 4-hour. And you can see we're kind of in this, you know, I'd call this, oh, I don't know if I'd call this like an ascending wedge. It's just kind of, I'm not a big pattern trader. I don't really like patterns too much. I don't think that they're super reliable. That's just my opinion. But basically, I mean, in this pattern, you do have your top, you know, you have your wick high resistance, you have your wick low supports here. So like this is being respected for the time being. It just gives me, you know, if I'm scalping, you know, if I happen to be scalping, I do want to know where these lines, you know, where these trend lines are, because it might influence my decision to a degree as far as what type of trade that I would want to, you know, that I would want to take. But, you know, on the 4-hour chart, it looks pretty good, really. I don't really have anything crazy to say about it. I just wanted to talk about Bitcoin for a little bit. You know, there's a little bit, you see the deviation between your Tenkin and your Kijun here. So this blue line and this yellow line, they're a little far apart. I'd like to see them a little bit closer together. You can see like you back here how close your Tenkin and your Kijun were on this entire run up, right? This is kind of what you want to see. And like when it comes to Ichimoku, like a really good way to think about your Tenkin and your Kijun is you always like you think of them as like a married couple, right? Like you want to be close together at all times. That's when things are kind of working the way that they're supposed to. But when you get this separation here and you get this kind of deviation away from each other, that's kind of when problems happen. That's kind of how you can think about it. And then you have your mean reversion plays and whatnot. But for now, this looks okay. That is the one thing on this 4-hour chart that does draw my attention a little bit, is like there is a bit of separation currently from your Tenkin and your Kijun. It is flattening out right here, which also is kind of not a good sign. But my forecaster here is showing that it's likely to start curling up. So that's a good thing. Like that's what we want to see. Like I'd like to see this Kijun get closer to price. Which will obviously happen, you know, if Bitcoin starts breaking up again, then the Kijun will follow. So that's, you know, that's what you want to see. I want to see the angulation go positive again, because right now you can see that your Tenkin here is flat, your Kijun is flat. So this shows that like we kind of have a loss of bullish momentum here in like the very recent time frame. But you want to see the angulation, you want to see it go positive for both of them again. And that'll likely indicate that we're ready to trend again. So that's Bitcoin on the 4-hour. Not a whole lot to see. Like it's kind of been just a slow grind up, which is perfectly fine. Hasn't been any real crazy moves or anything like that. And this is kind of like your support level. So I'll show you on the daily time frame. But if we did manage to drop, if price did break down from here, kind of the first initial level, you know, that I would be interested in is actually down here at your 618. So this fib pool was taken from the bottom of this is right before you have this big impulsive move up. So this is the low, and then it's actually taken the very high so far. But realistically, I mean, the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if this takes its high out, to be honest. But currently this right here is your high. So it's taken from your low to your swing high, and then your 618 all the way down here at 42,575. So that's kind of where this area is, which happens to be, so this is marked a key level over here. And this level is actually your former all-time high right here. So I'd really like, I wouldn't, you know, I mean, obviously I'd rather Bitcoin just break up, and, you know, it's much more fun when things are just going up. But if Bitcoin was to break down here, you know, like if Bitcoin was able, you know, pulled one of these and it started to break down, this is a level that I would be interested in, that I would be paying attention to, just because it'd be a nice retest of your prior all-time high here, and then the 618's lining up pretty nicely with it. So that's kind of like the first area that I would take a look. And also you'll see why on the daily once I switch to it. So your daily time frame, your Tenkin is really close to this level as well. So back here, I mean, you can see, you know, all the way starting from here, once you got your cross back at 11,000, the Tenkin has been a really nice buying opportunity. You can see, if you know, if you had bought here, you know, you got your big move up, there's a wick down, another Tenkin retest here. Here it gets a little messy, but still, like if you're buying these even for, you know, short scalps, I would say, I mean, not really scalps, but like if you're, you know, short-term trades, let's just say, I mean, more often than not, you probably did pretty well. Now, once you lost your Tenkin here, you got your Kijun retest, which is, you know, prices back at equilibrium here. You got a couple really solid entries here before this big impulse up. So you can see from our last retest up to your high, it's 70, almost a 74% move, literally a $21,605 move off of your last Kijun retest here. So that's a phenomenal trade. But again, you know, historically, you look at previous price action, same thing. You get a chance to buy the Tenkin over here, especially if it lines up with another, you know, some other levels of confluence. That's always a trade that I would be interested in taking. And then you have your Kijun way down here at 36,000. There's a lot of stuff going on before, you know, a level like this is considered, but you always want to know where your Kijun is, to be honest. Like if you're into Ichimoku, you know, there's kind of a thing where you bid the Kijun. Like the Kijun that's usually a really good spot to take a position. As you can see here, again, in these prior instances, like these ended up being phenomenal trades that could have been had if you've bid the Kijun. So again, not financial advice, but it's usually a pretty decent area to take a trade. As it stands, you know, and you know, the title of the video goes Bitcoin to 63,000. I'll kind of show you how I came up with that. So I know I got to switch my time frame. Nope, it's already there. So basically I took a fib extension. So you start to look for forms of confluence, right? So you look for your confluences, meaning like you want certain levels to kind of point out to you like that they might be of interest. So there you go. So basically I took a fib extension and I pulled it starting from here, which you can see this was kind of like a sideways consolidation level before you got your impulse move out of it. So that's why I started right here on this dot. So again, you had your sideways kind of consolidation before you get your big impulsive move. So I started it at the bottom of this impulsive move to the top of this swing high right here, which is your former all-time high at 42,000. And then your low, your swing low, which was this Kijun retest that we just talked about a bit ago. So I take it from this swing low here at the beginning of the impulsive move to the top of the impulsive move to your swing low. So I take that fib pull, and your 1-to-1 fib extension of that move is actually here at 53,451. So this is a 1-to-1 of that move that I had just discussed. So that, you know, there's nothing else that I see that really lines up with that at the moment. I could do, you know, I could spend another probably 10-15 minutes on the chart and do some other stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. But this is, you know, your 1-to-1 fib extension here is an important level, but your R3 yearly pivot to me stands out because not only is it, you know, it's a yearly pivot, it's a big level, And you can see, like, you know, when you come around your pivots, they've been respected pretty well, actually. They you know, you can see here that it's been used as support right now, but your yearly pivots have done pretty well. And you have some confluence here with that fib pull that I just explained. Your 1.382 fib extension lines up very nicely with your R3 yearly pivot. So this, I would kind of mark this off. Again, I wouldn't like necessarily, like, this is just an area. This is kind of like an area where I would watch for a reaction. Like, this is where I would expect, you know, maybe we stop out at, if you know, if we get the breakout move here. That's kind of where I would be looking at. And again, the title of the video, Bitcoin is 63K. This is why. But this would be an area that I would be watching for sure, to see kind of how price reacts and when it does get there. And then you have your 1618, which the 1618 is a really, really important level. Fortunately, it doesn't line up with anything else that I see right now, but that's at 68, almost 69,000. So, which is short of 70,000. So that's, you know, a nice round number there. So we'll have to see, you know, if Bitcoin does happen to start pushing, we start pushing up to these levels, we'll see how price reacts, and we'll kind of go from there. But I kind of gave you the upside target that I've been monitoring for, you know, that I've been talking about in our Discord for quite a while now, and kind of to the immediate downside levels of interest that I would be interested in and why. So if you found this video helpful, if you could smash a like button, I'd really appreciate it. It really helps to grow my channel as it's pretty new. And then if you subscribe and click the bell, it'll notify you immediately as soon as I post these videos. But I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you very much. We'll see you in the next video.